Today I will show you something really fun. I will show you how you can paint the lights on the model in Photoshop in case that the lights on the model and the background doesn't match. So let's start. Hey guys, it's Nemanja and welcome to another really fun episode. Light painting. That's something that I really love to do from time to time, and I'm really enjoying doing it because it can be a really good practice and it can be a really nice challenge. So let's jump straight into Photoshop and let me show you that on a concrete example. Right guys, for the situations like this, light painting can save your day because as you can see, the model is obviously differently lit than the background. Model is really bright and evenly lit with some kind of softbox, some soft shadows here, and you can even see the reflection of softbox on his armor. And the background is another story. It's night scene, street scene, and a lot of dark shadows there, big contrast, etc. And the light is coming from behind of the model. We will imagine that there are any lights here in the front of the model. We will fake that later as we will paint the light on the model. So the model and the background are two different worlds in the matter of lights, and of course the stormtrooper doesn't belong to this background. But for some kind of reason, for example, your client wants from you to put this stormtrooper on this very background, then this technique can save the day. And one tip for you guys before we start painting the light here. This technique works really good when the model is evenly lit. So for example, you have the model that is shot on a cloudy day outside or in a studio like this one with the big softboxes, etc. Because when you have evenly spread light on the model, you can easily paint some highlights and shadows there. But if your model is lit with some harsh light, then you will have some harsh shadows, harsh highlight, and you cannot fix that really easily. There are some ways when you can get with that too, but that's a little bit more advanced. We will not cover that today. So let's go back in Photoshop and let's start painting finally. Alright guys, so first thing that I want to do here is to make the model darker. There are several ways how you can make the model darker. I will show you two of them that I like to use for this kind of examples. First is just create a new empty layer, fill it with the black. I will press Alt and Backspace or Command and Backspace and clip to affect only the model. And now I can use the opacity to choose the darkness of the model. So that's one way. Alright, I will delete this layer. Another is to use exposure, clip to affect only the model, and just lowering the exposure we get the same effect. So let's use the exposure because we have more control over it, but basically it's the same. So let's make the model dark, something like this. All right, that's a starting point. I don't know exactly, but all right. And now what we need to do, I will use a brush, a little bit harder brush, something like this. All right. And now I need to use a black brush and 100% opacity. This is just for example, I need to paint some lights around the model. This is just for me illustrating what the final result would look like. So I need to create some kind of rim light around here. This is too much, etc. So like this. Of course, this is too much because the main light is coming from behind the model. So to do this really nice and precise, I will use really nice trick. So let's delete this. Okay, and what I like to do, I like first to load the selection from the model. So press Ctrl or Command and click on the model to load this as a selection. That's great. Now I will go to Select, Modify, and I want to contract this selection to make it smaller. So Contract, and I want to contract it by, this is experimental guys, depends on the image resolution, the selection type, etc. So you need to experiment here and there a few times to see. For this I will contract by 4 pixels. And as you can see here, my selection becomes more narrow. So that's good. And now if I start painting it, I will paint inside the model. That's not what I want. I want to invert the selection with Shift Control I or Shift Command I on a Mac. Now if I start painting around it, that's okay. But I want to hide the selection because I don't want to see those marching ants here. It's distracting for me. So to hide it, press Control or Command H. And now if you paint it, you can see this is really nice rim light, but maybe it's too harsh edges. I like to soften that. So that I will undo this a few times. Undo once, twice, and as you can see here, now we are back to original selection. Let's go to Select, Modify, and Feather it. So after contract it, I like to feather it. I like to feather it maybe by 2 or 3 pixels. I don't know. Let's use 3. Okay, and now I will invert again everything, hide it, and paint. Now it's much better. You can see the selection is a little bit fatter, and that's what I like. So because I want to fill the selection all around the model, I will press Alt and Backspace or Option and Backspace to fill the layer mask with the black. So that's it. And if I load the selection back, I have something like this. Okay, and before I start messing anything here, before I fix the things here, I like to create, while I still have this selection, create a new adjustment layer, curves. You will see later why. So for now it will be just here. Now I will go back to exposure, and I want to fix some parts of this selection. So I will use white color and something around 10% opacity brush, really soft one this time, and I like to fix some parts here and there. So just painting with the lights. And I'm not a painter, and this is if your guys are more familiar with the painting, you will be better in this, but this is really good, and you will be better and better if you practice this more. So now try to imagine where the lights will actually hit the model if this is a real scene, and try to paint out parts that are not good, that are not like lit properly. So here will be okay. I think this will not be lit, and this is okay-ish. Okay. And now I will fast forward this because it's boring for you to watch me doing this tweaking. So alright, so this is basically it. Now I will switch to the black brush, and I will paint some lights back. As you can see, if I'm using more opaque brush, you can see that I can paint light back. So I will use 20% opacity brush and just paint here and there a little bit more light. Maybe a little bit here, maybe 10% opacity brush, and just paint it here like this. Okay. And of course, if this is not for a tutorial, I will spend a little bit more time tweaking this, but I don't want to waste your time already, guys, so I will stop here. And this is the first step. So I have some really nice rim light. This is definitely better than this. So some really nice rim light. Now we need to decide what kind of light we want to paint more on this model. So where on the streets are more lights that will lit in this model? So we have lights from behind, that's cool. And for example, we have lights from our right side. So we need to paint, we have one light source right here somewhere, but we don't have on the left side. So we need to fix the background first. I will go to the background and create a new exposure adjustment layer and make everything darker. Invert the mask by pressing Ctrl Command I and use really soft brush, not like 0%, but something like 15 or so. And I just want to paint here a little bit of the darkness, because here the light is not coming as much as there. And from this side the light is coming, but here in the middle is a little bit darker. So I just want to fix that. As you can see, now we have impression that there is another light source from this side here that is illuminating the model. Of course, we need to paint that light on the model, but we will do that in a few seconds. So this is before and this is after. All right, that's good. I just want to fix here a little bit more. Okay, now let's go back to the model and let me show you why I made this curves adjustment layer. I made it just in case I need to make those rim lights a little bit brighter. So as you can see, I can make it bright, really bright. So for now it will be like this, maybe a little bit brighter, and then we will play with that later if we need to do it. Now I will make a new curves adjustment layer in between those two. It doesn't need to be in between, but just something that I did right now, and make the curves a little bit to open the lights on the model. So it's something like this. And then I will invert this again and I will paint imaginary light that is coming from the model's left side and our right side. So I will use a little bit something like this again, not really soft brush, but something like that, and 10% opacity, and just paint the lights here. Okay, then you need to think about how the light will hit some surfaces on his armor and try to paint like it's a real life situation. Of course, guys, for this, the practice is a must. You need to think about the light dispersion and how it will hit the model and all these things. So when light is coming from this direction, it will first hit this outside parts of the model, and that will be brighter, and then it will hit more this inside parts a little bit, and then of course here a little bit, and this part of the face, etc. So I will now again fast forward all this because I will spend a little bit more time painting this. Alright guys, I want to paint some details here on the belt, just a little bit. So if you can, if you can do that, try to invest a lot more time to paint things like that. I'm really enjoying doing this because first it's a little bit relaxing for me, and it's a good practice for dodging and burning. So by doing this, you will be much better in overall retouching. So do that. And with the pen and the tablet, it's way easier. Basically, the pen and the tablet is like a must for this because it's way easier and more precise to do painting like this than just using a mouse and struggling with the strokes and the shapes of the strokes, etc. So try to buy, if you're really serious about retouching and this is your profession, then it's really must. If you're just a hobbyist, try to buy a cheaper tablet, and basically any kind of tablet will work for this just hobby stuff. But I always recommend Wacom because they're really good. Even the cheaper tablets are really good. So let's continue this. I will again fast forward this. Right guys, now I will add another curvature adjustment layer because this is not too bright for me and I don't want to mess the mask that I already did. So I will just add another one to do some more brightness in, to paint more lights. Again, invert it, and another just paint here and there a few more light parts. So I'm basically dodging this. Alright guys, and I will stop right here. So let me show you just before and after. Huge difference. Now we need to paint some shadows in. So I will create a new curves adjustment layer and just make everything darker. So something like this. And then I will invert everything and try to paint some shadows. I will try to think where the shadows will be from this position of the light. So some shadows will be right here. I need to have a white brush, so more shadows here. Right, and of course a little bit harsher shadow right here because the light is now not so soft. So maybe, oops, I will raise this and use a harder brush and just paint some harsh shadow right here below the gun. So this is much better. And here and there I need to paint a little bit more dark parts. So again, I will fast forward this and see you in a couple of seconds. Right guys, and now I want to paint some shadows here because this bump on the armor will actually create a shadow right here. So try to pay attention on these small details too because it will make everything more realistic. So just a little bit darker from this bump, of course, and some small things here and there, etc. But for now, this is good. For this tutorial, this is good. Again, I already said I could spend a lot of time here doing this, but I will not do this. Maybe a few more minutes, guys, because I'm really enjoying this. Right guys, and I'm almost done. I want to just make this rim light a little less bright. So this is a rim light. Just want to make it less bright on this side. So I will go and mask out this side. All right, and here where the rim light is actually here, I just want to mask out a little bit more this side, like this, just a touch. Okay, and I will stop here. I will stop here because I don't want to waste your time anymore. Now we need to match the colors between the model and the background, and I have 2 and even more tutorials about how to match colors between the model and the background. You can check them out. One of them is right here, so go and check it out. But here I will do a little bit more simple. I will create a new adjustment layer. We can use photo filter, for example, and make the model a little bit more bluish. So you can choose the color or choose the cooling filter, something like this. Clip to affect only the model, and as you can see, we can make the model a little bit more bluish, and we're okay with that too. So this is good. Another way is to use color balance adjustment layer, clip it to affect only the model, and just add some bluish tint here and there in the shadows, a little bit more bluish tint like this. Maybe in the highlights a little bit more greenish and something like this. I'm not 100% sure now about these colors because I have a huge octabox right here and I cannot see the colors properly because it's too bright on this part of the monitor, so don't judge me on that. But something like this looks okay. So right, so for example, this is okay. And we can stop here and this is much better, but now I want to fix the background a little bit. So let's go here on the background, do one curves adjustment layer, make everything brighter, invert the mask, and just paint right here. Just paint some lights because we will have impression that the model is lit from this side. I want to remove the lights from here and paint here. And this is nice. And of course we can add some shadow, but the shadow will not be visible from this and this side, so I will leave it like this. And what I like to do, I like to make a copy of the background, right? Just press Ctrl Command J, and I want to go to filter and camera raw filter. And now I want just to make the background a little bit darker, and I want to dehaze it. So dehaze it a little bit dark like this, and that's okay. So I'll press OK. Now it's much better. Now the contrast is better and everything. And what can we do to make this even more believable? We can add some blur, some depth of field on the background. And again, I have tutorial about how to add blur and different kind of blurs in Photoshop, so you can check that right here. But here we will do like this. On this copy of the background, I will go to filter, blur gallery, and fill blur. And now I have this pin that will be somewhere here. And with this, I can control the amount of the blur in the background. So this is cool too, but it doesn't have sense. So maybe like this, maybe. And then let's make another one right here and lower the blur amount. So like we have really nice depth of field, maybe to put it somewhere here, and another one right here and put it all the way to 0. So here is 0, here is some small amount like this. And then on the back, everything is much more blurry. So you need to play a little bit with this to see how you want to. But maybe you want to really high blur there, but I don't want that. I just want something like this, and that's okay. I will press OK, and now I can merge everything into one layer by going to the first layer at the top, press Shift Control Alt E or Shift Command Option E on a Mac, and then I will go to filter, camera raw filter, and just do overall color correction, maybe a little bit of vignetting, feather it, add some bluish tint in the shadows like this. We can play with some tint on the highlights too if you're up to it, but let's leave it like this for now. Maybe we can sharpen everything just a touch. We can add even some noise on the model, so we can do that. We can do a lot of things. So let me see, a little bit of here and there, a few things, and that's basically it. I will press OK, and I'm really satisfied how this looks now. So this is before, and actually this is not before. This is before, guys, and this is after. So you can see now the model looks like it really belongs here. And of course, this is not a final product. I will still tweak some highlights here and there on his left side especially. And here I see that the highlights are too bright and I don't like them too much. Maybe I can just go and fix that a little bit more again. But that's something that you need to play and go back and forth, see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, etc. So it's trials and errors, and then you will really match everything nicely. But again, I need to play with the background to bring back everything here like this, then few things here and there. And this is much better now, right? So I like this much better. Of course, I can go and add some noise overall on the image if I want that, etc. So there are so many possibilities of what you can do after. But this is it for now. Right, guys, and we are done with the light painting for today. This is something really nice and useful, and practicing this, you will be better in retouching overall, for example, in dodging and burning, etc. So you need to practice this a lot to be good in it. You cannot just do 1 or 2 examples and you can say you master it. No, you need really to practice this a lot, except if you're not a professional painter, then this would be much easier for you and you will be much better. So practice, go through trials and errors, and of course you can get some really cool results. Right, guys, if you appreciate this content, if you appreciate this episode, press that like button down below, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. If you have any questions regarding to this episode, please leave them down there in the comment section below. I will be glad to answer them. And of course, if you want to support me and this channel to be even bigger and better, you can do that by visiting my Patreon page. The link is down there in the description, and you will get some things in return. I'm giving you all of this for free, and if you are willing to support me, thank you so much for that. It's up to you. Right, guys, have fun, experiment, and see you in next fun episode. Bye bye.